Question time, ready?
Ready.
Alright. So, what is your full name?
Arnold Edward Debrick.
And what do you go by?
Arnold.
Do you have a nickname or?
When I went to grade school, my nickname was Fat. Reason being, I wasn't even heavy. I was real thin then.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason being they called me Fat, it come from my parents that lived around here went to school too.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was 9, 10 months old, I was just like a tub. I mean, and their parents, the kids' parents knew that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just absolutely real fat as less than a year old, so that just followed me to school. And then after grade school, I really don't have any nickname.
So now, do you still does anybody call you that now?
No, I don't think any of them remember. Probably most of them.
Does anybody know it?
That was just, I know it had to come from their parents.
Okay, so how long have you lived in Miami County?
It'll be 92 years.
92 years.
Next week.
And you live now in Block.
Right, southeast of Block.
And you lived here your whole life?
Yeah, well, with the exception being gone to the service, and then I was just a short time in California after I got out of service, just probably 6 weeks.
Really? What for?
I just went out, a couple other guys and myself, we drove out there just to be doing something and visit some people we knew out there, and just for the fun of it. And two of us stayed there a little longer. There was 4 of us went together, and the other 2, I think they left earlier and come back on the bus, and we walked. The 2 of us worked at oil field manufacturing, or field pump manufacturer in California, and we just done that to have money to have fun with.
So how long total?
I think 6 weeks was about all. Los Angeles area.
Really? So what year was that?
I'd been in 1946 probably. 46.
And how old were you?
I'd be 20 then, 21 I guess, yeah.
So what was it like out there at that time?
Well, it, of course, compared to the traffic here, the traffic was heavy, and I can tell you just a small incident that we ran into it in New Mexico. We stopped there to stay all night, and just the 2 of us decided, rather than, there was a honky-tonk there, and just the 2 of us decided to go to that, and the others went to the motel. They were ready, getting tired. We're in there, and there's a large dance hall, and there was mostly Indians down there, practically all, and they was all, and there's different than up here. All the girls were sitting on one of a large dance hall. All the girls were sitting in chairs on one side, and the boys on the other side. And I nudged my fellow buddy with me. I said, "Hey, let's see if we can't dance with a couple of those squaws." And as we went over to the girls' side, I looked around. That whole other side of boys moved over, and I said, "I think we better get out of here." So we got out of there then. But that was just a fun experience. We just kept doing funny things like that.
That's hilarious.
Trying to get into trouble, I guess. We didn't run into any trouble. We just done different things. I kind of forgot a lot of it.
But just for 6 weeks though?
Yeah, 6 weeks we just worked and then went to different places where we could have a lot of fun, have a drink, and do all that stuff.
Okay, so you were born here, in Miami County?
Right here on this farm.
Right here in this farm. Hot dog.
In the other old house.
So any brothers and sisters?
Yeah, a sister, it's over a year, well, probably a year and a half younger than me. And then a brother, well, Doris, she lives down here in New Lancaster. And brother Rollin is the youngest one, and he passed away several years ago.
My condolences.
He was living in Garnett, and he lost his first wife and got married again, and he died and moved up to Overland Park. I mean, he died up there at Overland Park.
Now, what are the name of your parents?
Edward and Minnie.
Edward and Minnie. Do you have middle names?
Edward Theodore, and my mother's middle name, actually, Rika, I think, Minnie Rika. Minnie.
So Minnie, was Minnie short for anything, or?
Well, Wilhelmina.
Wilhelmina, I like that.
Wilhelmina Rika, and her mother, which would be my grandmother, that was her mother's name, Rika.
Parents were born here?
Yes, my grandparents, all four of my grandparents were born in Germany, and they immigrated over here. I don't know what years they came. My mother married, my mother lived here, I think shortly before, they married, they lived here after they got married. And I think my grandmother, they come from Illinois over this way. And my father, he lived at his home, we always call it on the other side of the river, which on the other side of the Mardazine River, yeah. And they actually spoke what we called High and Low German.
Well, what's the difference?
Oh, there's just dialects. It's just a little different, and it seemed like my dad, being on the other side of the river, spoke that dialect, and my mother, living on this side, spoke her dialect.
Okay, so your folks, so they didn't come over together. They weren't married when they came over. They were seven. They got married here.
They were married. Yes, they were married here.
Okay. So but when they came over from the from Europe, they didn't know each other.
Well, that's my grandparents.
Okay.
Not my parents.
I'm sorry, your grandparents. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my grandparents. Now I'm not sure about their marriages or anything. Whether they were married when they came over here. I'm guessing they probably. Well, I don't know. I won't say, because I don't know.
Okay. And what was their occupation? What did they do for a living, for jobs?
Farming.
Farming. What about your grandparents?
Well, my grandparents farmed.
Farms, a farming family.
Yeah, in fact, they both grandparents farmed. In fact, you might know of the Debrick School, be north of Fontana on the side of the other side of the river. In the cemetery, there's Debrick Cemetery over there, where some of my grandparents were buried over there. That my granddad gave that land for a school and cemetery.
Really?
And when my wife and I first got married, we went down and mowed that cemetery. I have grandparents that are buried there on my dad's side, and a number of people that I know are buried there.
Really?
And I think a lot of that started due to the fact that they lived on that side of the river, and getting across the river wasn't easy like it is now. And I know that some of their I call them offsprings, they're buried there. It might sound like the Montes. They're buried there. There's some Montes buried there. And of course my grandpa and grandmother's buried there. And there's some that's been buried there for just recently.
So where did you went to school in Block?
There used to, my first grade, I went to school here to Mobley School, which is down here on this first corner.
Okay.
Where that building is down there now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's was sitting right on the corner. And then when at my second grade, then my parents wanted me to go to the Lutheran school there at South Block. So I went to school, in my second grade, started riding school on a horse. And then that for several years, and then after that I walked, I guess. And in bad weather, of course this road wasn't even graveled, it was just a mud road. And impassable for cars a lot of the time. And so that'd be bad. Just take a horse, team of horses in the wagon and take us to school in a wagon, just a farm wagon.
And so you said that you drove the bus?
Well, that was...
was in high school?
In high school. Of course, I started the high school in 1939. And then in 41, as you know what happened then, then the bus quit running. And I was still in high school. But I missed a year simply because I couldn't get there. No buses were running. Then my dad and a neighbor built kind of a house on a truck. And then I drove it. And
built a house on a truck.
Well, it was just like a bus.
Like a school bus.
It had door in the back and windows on the side and seats in there.
That's awesome.
And I picked up the school kids around. I mean, other ones that going to high school around here.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was still running yet when I got out of service.
Really?
Of course, I wasn't driving it, but I know it was still. Just so happened I guess the buses didn't get started running, so that's what set me back. And then, of course, before I got graduated, then I volunteered to go into service.
No, where did you do high school at?
Paola.
That's what I thought, Paola. So, what about middle school?
There was no.
Okay.
Well, I guess there was, but no, I didn't go to middle school.
Okay.
Just from the 8th grade, I went on to high school.
Okay. So, okay, in a general sense of the word, what was it like in Miami County back then?
Well, there's so much difference in transportation, and well, of course, the high school, the building I went to was the one there just east of the square. And of course had sports, just like football and basketball. And
was it, especially growing up here my whole life, knowing that in Miami County, but Paola, obviously means where I'm from, where I went to school, the close-knit community.
Yeah.
Has it always been like that clear back then?
What?
Well, was it still that kind of way, but was it that way back then too?
Oh, yes.
I mean, close-knit community, everybody.
Probably more close-knit than it is now.
Really?
By far. Well, I know it's just an expression I'll give you is that anytime we travel, we didn't travel too much during the Depression days and that time, but if we get away from here a ways and see a Miami County car, I said, oh, I bet I know them. Just the way it was.
Yep. Okay, so do you remember the names of your teachers?
Well, to be right frank with you, the teacher here down at Mobley for 1 year, I can't come up with that. There was 2 teachers in our school. It's a 2-room school there at the Lutheran school at Block, or south of Block corner. One of them was Shear, Mr. Shear, S-C-H-E-E-R, and he had the lower grades, 1 to 4, 1 through 4, and then 5th grade on up was AP, initial AP Walters, and I remember those 2 names real well. Now in high school, Mrs. Draper and I can't.
Did any of those teachers have any kin here? They have any relation? Any family?
here at the block school, yeah, Walters lived. His family, he didn't have any relation himself, not right here, but his family naturally lived here and grew up here, and his kids went to school there too.
Okay.
And Teacher Shearer, he lived. In fact, he lived just across the field here at one time. He got married to a local lady here. I mean, in the community around here. And then of course, the high school teachers I mentioned, they all live around Paola more than here. Rambo was one. He was, I guess he was a superintendent. I don't know at that time or not. And I can't come up with all the high school teachers' names.
Now, okay, what were your favorite subjects?
I would say arithmetic or geometry and that sort of thing.
And you say you finished through, you were a year short of graduating,
right?
Because of the war,
right?
And then when you came back, you finished your GED.
Yes.
Okay. And what year was that?
When I got my GED. Oh, that wasn't too. I don't know. It was the same time that. Oh, you mentioned the ones that you done interviews with.
Kenneth Bond. Yes.
Yeah, right. Kenneth Bond. He at the same time he did.
Okay. I mean, that was quite a few years afterwards, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a time afterwards. Then I did take a little bit. Then I was went in the hospital at south of Leavenworth at it's an Eisenhower Center now, but and then I was there for several months, or a couple months anyway, and just lying there, and had a chance to do a little bit of college. I wanted to be a draftsman.
Really?
And I took a little bit of just instructions on that while I was there.
Now, what did you like when you were a kid, growing up? I mean, even so far as in right before the war, what did you want to be when you grew up? I mean, for like a career, and was it?
Oh, I guess I wanted to be a farmer before. I lived on a farm, and that's the only thing I knew. And I done farm work even while I was in high school yet. And in fact, I belonged to the FFA and had my own hogs and things out here just as a project. So I was preparing to be a farmer. That's just...
Now, what did you like for fun? What did you do for fun? What kind of trouble did you get into?
Well, of course, I was in track at school. That was my favorite sport. I loved to run, and then later I loved to dance. When I got married, my wife and I had done a lot of dancing, and I go fishing, hunting, water skiing, snow skiing, any sport like that. I loved it. We went. We used to take our whole family to Colorado and spend some time out there snow skiing. The first snow skiing I did was right after the war was over. A buddy of mine got a hold of a Jeep somewhere, and we went to Switzerland. And I went down the slopes on ski.
In the Alps?
Yeah.
Wow!
It was nothing like skiing here now as it is. There was no regular slopes. You just go up. And in fact, the mountain, they had a rail cars go up that was built to go up to. And where I first started, first skied, I was up on a mountain right across from the Matterhorn. I had a great view of the Matterhorn.
Really?
And then I'd taken a little training, about a day, a little bit of it, and they just had clamp-on skis that you put on your boots, and and start down, going waving down through the trees, and I remember the first started out, I thought I was going to go over a big cliff. I didn't know I could make the turn, so I just sat down.
So do you remember the first big crash you had?
Well, I didn't have any bad crashes. I seen where one fellow got his leg cut open by hitting a tree limb that went down. And there was nothing safety about it. You just were simply on your own, and just make the best of it. And that's about all the time I spent skiing there. But I said, when I get home, I'm going to ski. But then again, it was a long time quite a while before we went to Colorado.
Now, back when you were younger, even now, so I mean, did you ever play any instruments, musical instruments?
Not really. When I was real young, I had gotten a guitar, and I just practiced it on a little bit, and my dad threatened to wipe it over a fence post. He didn't do that, but the noise I made with it. So I didn't get very far with that.
It's okay. So the your church affiliation is the Lutheran, correct?
Right.
Okay. And then that was your whole life, correct?
Right.
Nice. So what are your best memories from the church?
Well, of course the best is when I got married, and of course when I got confirmed, and that was the first haircut. I won't say my first haircut. My mother cut my hair.
Yeah.
And now you're going to get confirmed. I want to see you look a little better. So that's the first haircut I had. I mean, at a barber. And
so I know you guys do the Blocktoberfest. Is that with the church?
The Blocktoberfest? Yeah. Yes. That, of course, hadn't been built that very long.
Yeah, but still, I mean, but now coming up to the present time, I mean, recently, yeah.
Yeah. Then, I'd make mention to you. My wife and I used to go over to Herman, Missouri, among other different places for dancing, and the orchestra over there, and most all the dances around here. I told you this before. Fräulein was my favorite, and then it got so everybody knew. That's what I did. Asked for, so I didn't even have to ask for it. And the same band that orchestra plays over there at Herman, Missouri, plays here at the Blocktoberfest now. So
saying right.
And but the last time they played here, without me telling them, they wanted to dedicate that song to me.
Nice. All right. So now, growing up for you and for your family, I guess separately even, what was your most special holiday?
Well, I'd say Christmas.
Christmas? Okay. Any particular reason?
Well, primarily that's when Christ was born. And I'm strictly I'm a strong Lutheran, I'll put it that way. And we still have services on Christmas Eve as well as Christmas Day, and then the entire family gets together, and they used to come here before my wife was killed, and now they go to one of my daughters and son-in-law, Paul and Kathy Haley, live just a little ways up the road there. The entire family, kids, grandkids, the great-grandkids, everybody shows up there. In fact, I have a picture of all of us together. And that's of course the favorite holiday, and still is, and that's the reason.
All right. So next question is, what are some of the most important things that happen in your life, whether it be in Miami County, any special times, any special sad times, happy and sad?
Well, of course, there was a special time when Lorena and I got married, February the 20th, 1949. It was a special time when I got out of service in 1946, and then, of course, I had I drove a truck most of the time out of, not for myself then, but for other companies, and then I started Debrick Truck Line Company, and getting that to where it is today is definitely special.
Yeah. So you were married in 1949. And how long total?
We had that accident in 07, whatever that figures out. And then, of course, I haven't remarried.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
So a total of how many years?
49, well, 50 to 07 is 50, 67, 68 years.
Beautiful. All right, and where were you married at?
Here at Block Church.
At Block Church. Good memories. When and how did you meet your spouse, or meet Lorraine?
Well, my parents lived here. Her parents lived about 4 miles southwest of here. And of course she was younger than me. And she, of course, even so, she was 5 years younger than myself. And we both went to school there, but to block school. But lower grade, higher grades didn't have much to do with the lower grade one. So I knew her, and I knew the rest of the kids there, and that's about it.
And so when you came back from the war, how did you guys rekindle it?
Well, I think first of all going to church and meeting her there, even though my parents and her parents did get together a lot during the war. And I know I was told afterwards that mother especially, with the fact that she hadn't heard anything, had any mail from me for a very long time, and she'd cry the blues down there, even though no one had any idea we were going to be connected like we are.
No way.
But
that's brilliant.
And of course, meeting Lorena at church, and a few times I'm going to see about if I can't go out with her. And so I got a date with her. And
you said that after you got to that first date, it was 2 years, and you got married.
Right. Well, it might have been a little less than 2 years, because I was driving a truck and gone for a week at a time, and I wasn't married then, I know.
Yeah.
And so it might have been, well, it was around 2 years probably.
So how many kids?
4 kids.
4 kids. Names?
The oldest is Karen. Lives right across, if you walk a mile across there, you'd be where they live. Just right straight across here. They're walking through, because you can't drive that way. And her name was Karen. Kathy, of course, Karen Windler. Now Kathy Haley. It's seen about 3 miles, but it's 2 miles west and a mile north.
Oh, yeah.
And then, and Kevin, he lives just a half mile. We sold him a small piece of ground. He's bought additional property east of him there, but he bought a small area and had a house moved on it and built some buildings. And then Ken, my youngest son, he lives, maybe it's half a mile west of Block, in a little south, and back in the field.
Okay.
Built a new house there.
But how many grandchildren?
I think 8. Or 10, I don't know.
A lot of them.
I can't rely on my memory. They keep coming all the time. And I got
and so I'm not going to try for great grandkids.
Yeah, I've got great grandkids, and there's probably I had to stop and count. I think I counted that up once. Well, no, I have. We all get together on a Christmas Eve after Christmas service, Christmas Eve service, and so I get. Now they're scattered out some, but anyway, then I've got a granddaughter in Washington D.C. and another granddaughter. That's Kevin's daughter. Daughter. And then one that flies with, or she's a reception on the TWA. Her husband, which she married, he's a pilot. And of course, they don't get together all the time. Once in a great while, they do. All the kids, of course, work at the truck line. And two of the grandkids, well, one of Ken's daughter.
What are the most prominent things that have changed in Miami County since your birth?
Being the fact that out here on the farm, we didn't have any electricity, no water but out of the cistern and wells. So a big change has been to get electricity, get water, rural water, and the roads are just so much better than they were. This was just a plain no gravel, not anything. And then the other road wasn't even blacktop. That was just gravel all the way into Paola. And then in communications, the telephones we had here was owned by the people living around here. It's a block telephone company. Even after we got the truck line, got trucking. One funny thing about that, and is after I got doing a lot more business, not only locally here, done business in New York, Chicago, Boston, all those places there. But I was still on a telephone line where they were, lines, so many people on one line, so many people on another. The fellow that run his name happened to be Block, and the telephone switchboard is right there north of the church.
Really?
And of course he was very helpful with everybody he could. And one time I got a call, many calls from, like I mentioned, New York City, different people I'd done business with there. He called my number, and Bill Block was a switchboard operator. He had seen me go by, and he told this fella in New York City, "Oh, he's not home, I just seen him go by." And you can imagine, most of those people out still thought there were Indians running around here. I mean, that was their thinking, the way things were here in Kansas.
On the East Coast, I bet.
But I bet they got a bang out of that.
Alright, so now real quick, we have a few more questions. What was the first president that you voted for?
I'm not sure about that. Of course, I couldn't vote when I went into service. And I remember voting for Eisenhower. And of course, Roosevelt was president during the war and died during the war. Vice President
Harry Truman.
Harry Truman became president.
Uncle Harry.
And then I don't know what president was after that. When I got out of service.
So where were you when Hiroshima and Nagasaki were both dropped? I
was in France. I don't know whether you want to hear this story or not. I could go on with many stories. This happened to be, like I said, I was honored and done a lot of things that I paid for. I might not paid money for, but at that time, when I was in Europe, depending on our point, they developed a point system, and depending on how many points you had, whether you'd go back home and then go on over to the Pacific, or if you had enough points to stay over there as occupation. And then they called, we was about 80, 90 miles from Paris, out in the pasture land. They'd call out to get people to, soldiers fall out every so often and call names, depending, and go over your point system and decide whether you'd go home or what you'd do. Well, what I was getting at on that, my bunk, we stayed in squad tents. It was just out in the field there. And I could hear it from there. I just stayed laying on my cot. Then an officer come in, seen me lying, only one lying in there. I was supposed to be out standing at attention there. He said, "Soldier, you were supposed to be out there." I said, "Oh, I could hear from here." That didn't satisfy him.
Bet not.
He said, "Well, I'm going to make sure you don't do that over again." And that's what I'm getting at, what I was doing when the bombing happened over there, over in Japan. He said, "You can dig a 6 by 6, dig a hole 6 foot deep, 6 foot square." And so I went out and started digging, and then I heard a lot of hooping and hollering going on, and I said, well, I dug down a ways, not that far, but I looked out of the hole and I said, hey, what's going on? Oh, the oar's over with. And so I crawled out of the hole.
I'm done with it.
I didn't even finish digging it. So I got by with that. Then I got put into MPs, and I sit with Herman Göring in a house at Oberhausen, Germany, which was used to be a German camp before they sent him over to Nuremberg for trial among all the other criminals. And then I did get done other different various jobs to be done, but ended up at the Eiffel Tower. And was and eventually got up to the first landing where the United States had a big dance hall and drank a lot of champagne. They pop bottles all night long, and I got from the officer in charge. He said, well, you can stand and watch what's going on. They all have plenty of drink, and if they ask you to have a drink with them, you go ahead. And I said to myself, hey, this is the best job I've ever had. And I drank champagne every once in a while with them, not very much. And then, like I've told before, that I walked around the outside railing and I seen a fellow about ready to jump over the side, and I caught him and asked him what his problem was, and he said, and he had a crying jag on, and he drank way too much. And he said, no, Mama don't love me, my girlfriend don't love me, I might as well jump over. I said, I'll get off of that idea. And I took hold of him and took him down over to the elevator and sent him down on the elevator. And so that's the last time I would see of him. And I'm sure they took him on to his hotel or motel, wherever he was staying.
Well, Arnold, we will finish this up tomorrow at the museum. But thank you for letting me come to your house. And
well, you're more than welcome to come over. And I don't, it's much easier to talk about it now than it was for a number of years afterwards. It's just the way things were. And how they've changed. You change your attitude about things and begin to realize that, like I think I've told you before, somebody needs to know what happened over there.